Hello everyone, this is Varun Uruganti. Welcome to Aerospace Structures. Today we are going to discuss about the study pull-out, correctly banked turn and gust loads. Okay, this is a schematic diagram of a study pull-out. For example, when you take an aircraft which is in level flight condition, this is a rough diagram of an aircraft. Previously we have discussed the forces acting on it. In simplifying way, the drag force is balanced by the thrust force T and the weight is balanced by the lift force. Now let us imagine when an aircraft is in level flight condition. Suddenly let us consider the pilot need have operated the elevators, or there is some gust which is appearing here. Then the pilot need to overcome the gust. Ultimately what he do is that he will be increasing the height of a airplane by operating an elevator. As a result, the path of an airplane will be in pull up or pull down, whatever it might be. This is the schematic of an airplane which shows these forces acting on an airplane in a pull-out. Let us identify the forces. First thing, the weight W is always directed towards down, towards the center of gravity, and thrust T is acting in this direction, and parallel and opposite to the thrust there is an other force called as the drag force D. And other two important forces which we need to consider is that one is the lift force and another is the centripetal force or the centripetal acceleration. You can see that the centripetal acceleration is given by V square by R. V is the velocity of a flight and R is the radius of pull out. And in this case, you may observe that this centripetal acceleration is acting along the direction of the lift. That is, the centripetal force is opposite to the centripetal acceleration. What we can write is that the centripetal force Fc, let us denote it by Fc, can be written as minus m into V square by R. This is what we get is the centripetal force acting on an airplane when it is in a static pull-out condition. Here we have identified the force which is acting on an airplane. Now let us resolve these forces along the direction of lift and the drag. Finally what we get is, by looking into the free body diagram, what we can do is that this W can be resolved into the two components. This is the angle theta and this is W cos theta, and another component which is acting along the direction of thrust which is given as W sin theta. Now let us resolve the forces and let us identify the forces which is acting along the direction of thrust. Let us draw the free body diagram. Okay, along the x-axis we have W sin theta and the thrust force T, and opposite to these two forces what we have is that the drag force which is opposite to the thrust. And now resolving the forces in the vertical direction. Already I have said that the centripetal force is opposite to the direction of the centripetal acceleration. If the centripetal acceleration is towards up, then the centripetal force will be towards down. And in the figure, what you have observed is that the centripetal acceleration, that is during the pull out, is in the direction towards the direction of the circle, that is towards the center point, but the centripetal force is away towards from the center. Finally, Now we resolve the forces, that is W cos theta. Apart from W cos theta, what we have is that mv square by r. Right now I am not taking care of the signs, and this downward force is balanced by the upward vertical force. Then what we have is that N. Now you may see that the lift has been increased from the level flight to the pull-out conditions. Now resolving forces along the direction of horizontal, what we get is, that is L equal to WV square by R plus W cos theta. Theta, from this you can figure out what is the theta. And now we resolve the forces around the vertical direction. What we get is that L equal to V square by R plus cos theta. Sorry, the same thing. But what we know is that from the concept of load factor is that load factor N is equal to the lift times the weight. Finally, if we substitute L is equal to NW and cancel out the W, what we finally get is that N equal to V square divided by R plus cos theta. For a small angle approximation, when theta is small and when the radius of turn is large, what we can say is that we can approximate cos theta as equal to 1. That is, for larger radius, for larger values of n, the two conditions should satisfy. One is either the turn radius should be shorter or the velocity will be more. Imagine when you are riding a bike and when you are in high speed, in order, either you need to reduce the velocity of a bike to have a shortest turn, or either you need to take a larger turn to maintain the same velocity. And the same case in the aircraft. For an aircraft to have a larger turn, we might have not compromised on the velocity. But if we need to have a shorter turn of a shorter pull out or turn, what we need to do is that we need to compromise on the velocity. Now this is about the pull out. And the other thing is that it is a turning flight or banking flight. That is, let us look into the diagram of a flight. This is the case in a level flight condition. When we operate one of the aileron, then what happens is this flight path will be changing. Phi is called as the bank angle, and L is acting towards the vertical and W is always acting towards the center of gravity. And you might have seen that the acceleration component. Let us draw the free body diagram or the flight. When you look from the top view, you will be seeing that the flight will be making, the trajectory of a flight is a circular of radius r at some arbitrary center O. Now the weight W is always acting towards down and lift is acting towards the normal, and you may see that the centripetal force, the centripetal acceleration is acting towards the center of magnitude V square by R, and ultimately the centripetal force will be acting in this direction of magnitude m V square by R, where m is the instantaneous mass of an airplane, that is the mass measured by the time of an airplane. Finally, the ultimate thing what we do is that after identifying the forces acting on an airplane in level turn, here the concept of level turn is most important. That is, the level turn means the height with respect to the with respect to radius, the height is not changing. That is, when you take an airplane, it is maintaining a constant height from the ground. Okay, now the same figure, in order to have a clear view of an force component, now what we do is that we resolve the forces in horizontal and vertical direction. First thing, let us resolve in the vertical direction. What the force we have in this direction is, this is angle phi, W cos phi, and this is W sin phi. And the force which is acting, we doesn't need the component of an acceleration. This is mv square by r. Okay, finally what we get is that L sin phi, the component of lift in vertical direction, that is L sin phi, is balanced by the weight, which is wv square by r, and the horizontal component of centripetal acceleration, L cos phi, equal to w. And from both the equation, let us say this is equation 1 and equation 2. Finally, when we divide equation 1 and 2, what we get is that tan phi equal to v square by r. And finally, here what we can say, that phi equal to tan inverse v square by r. This is what we get, and deduce what happen if r is small to phi, and what happen if v is small, v is large. That is, when we have a smaller radius, then the bank angle will be small, and when we have a larger velocity, the vice versa. Okay, let's go to the slide. Now the gust load. The term gust refers to the sudden flow of air. For example, let us consider an airplane which is moving with a constant velocity, and suddenly when there is a sudden flow of air, let us analyze what happened to the aircraft and what about the angle of incidence and how we analyze. Here we have a three type of gust. One is a sharp edge gust, and another is gradient gust, and one is 1 minus cosine gust. Each and every name has its specific history. I would not like to go through the history, but the thing is that what happened when an aircraft encounters a gust. When an aircraft encounters a gust, the wing incidence changes. For example, this is an aircraft and this is an incidence angle alpha. When the velocity is increased, ultimately because of downwash, the wing incidence increases, and there might be a sudden or gradual decrease in the lift. As a result, the aircraft may level up or level down. Okay, this is the typical gust profile. When you look into this, let us consider this. Okay, let us consider an aircraft which is flying with a velocity capital V. Suddenly, it has entered into a high velocity zone, high velocity airflow. It is encountered with and the velocity of air is donated by u. And here you may observe that it is towards up. Finally, this is called as sharp edge gust. And it is not the case for every case. And there is a typical case where the velocity gradually changes. For our simplifying case, let us take it as a linear. And finally, it reaches a constant value. This is called as gradient gust. And another type of gust which we encounter is that it is a cosine 1 minus cosine curve. You might have known about the cosine graph. It appears like this. And 1 minus cosine graph will be appearing as follows. And you may see that you can see that in sharp edge gust, the velocity of gust is constant. But when you take the case of the gradient gust, that is, the velocity is increasing linearly and finally it reaches a steady state. That is, there is no more decrease in velocity or no more increase in velocity. But when you take the case of 1 minus cosine gust, that is, the velocity in the initial stages increases and reaches towards a maximum point and then it decreases. All these are approximation. It's not an exact, and it is not guaranteed that the gust will be always encountering in this direction. The gust may also encounter in this direction or in this direction. It is a random process. What I would like to say is that, okay, now let us look into the sharp edge gust, how the airplane behave when it encounters a sharp edge gust. Now let us consider the airplane velocity has v and the gust velocity has u. Suddenly, before entering into the gust, the angle of incidence alpha naught be the angle of incident and velocity be the v. But when aircraft enters into the constant gust of velocity u, then the angle of incident has been changed from alpha naught to tan inverse u by v. And you can deduce this. You can see that in the initial cases, the velocity is in this direction. But when the velocity, when it has encountered with velocity u, that is the gust velocity, then it has some component. What I would like to draw is this table. This is the airplane velocity v and this is gust velocity u. Finally, these two are vector quantities. That means the resultant vector, let us say this, will be something like v square plus u square under root, and the angle can be deduced as tan inverse u by v. This is what we have. The angle of gust is tan inverse u by v. Here, what we have observed is that the resultant velocity has been increased from v to approximately u plus v for a small gust velocity, and moreover the wing incidence angle has been changed. Let us look what happened. Okay, already I have discussed that the incidence angle has been changed from alpha naught, that is before the aircraft enters into the gust, and after it encounters into the gust, the resultant angle of incidence has been changed from alpha naught to alpha naught plus tan inverse u by v, and the aircraft speed has been increased from v, that is before it encounters the gust, to the under root of v square plus u square. This is a simple trigonometric which I have discussed in the previous slides. And finally, let us analyze what happened in the case of lift. Already you were aware of lift quotient CL versus alpha. For a symmetric airfoil, what we get is that, let us take, this is the gust and this is a linear relation, and what we can deduce is alpha equal to dou CL by something, that is a naught. The slope a naught can be written as dou CL by dou alpha. Okay, the increasing lift of an airplane is given by delta L is equal to 1 by 2 rho v square s. S is the total surface area of an airplane or wing into dou CL by dou alpha u by v. And here you note one of the most important thing is that I am not discussing about CL. I am discussing about dou CL by dou alpha. Here, when a wing incidence angle is changing, ultimately the lift is changing. That is the reason why we are dealing with the slope of slope of a incidence, that is dou CL by dou alpha. And moreover, look into the term, that is we are discussing about the change in lift. And finally, what we can write is the load factor is the lift by weight. The change in lift is given by the following formula, and here we can cancel out this. And finally, what we can write is delta N is equal to 1 by 2 rho UV into dou CL by dou alpha divided by W by S. The term W by S is called as the wingspan. That is, and you can say that if the wingspan is more, then delta N will be less. That is, when a wingspan is more, then the angle of incidence, that is downwash, reduces. As a result, the angle of incidence also reduces. But when velocity increases, then the flight velocity is more, then delta N will be more. And this is analysis only for the sharp edge gust. And for example, if we take N equal to 1, this increment in gust load factor is additional to steady level flight condition N equal to 1. Okay, what we have discussed is for steady level flight. When a steady level flight, that is the lift force, the vertical component is balanced by the downward component, and when it encounters a sudden gust, this is what we get. And finally, what we get is N is equal to 1 plus the following relation. N is equal to 1 plus or minus 1 by 2 rho VU dou CL by dou alpha W by S. One thing you might have observed here, the sign plus or minus. The thing is that when you consider a flight, when there is a upwash, this is called as upwash, then we can say take it as positive. But when there is a downwash, we take it as negative. And finally, about the gradient gust, there is no much discussion about the gradient gust. The analysis of this gradient gust is out of the scope of our syllabus. And moreover, in order to modify about the gradient gust, what we need to do is that we need to multiply with some factor called as the gust elevation factor called as F. Finally, the load factor N equal to 1 plus or minus F into 1 by 2 rho VU dou CL by dou alpha into W by S. Thank you very much. Once again, this is Varun Voruganti signing off.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.